Hi everyone, it's Melissa, and today I am doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I will link in the description the original tag. This is a tag that there are a few versions for, so I just took the questions from the original tag, and I think I might have actually left out a couple questions that I just never have a good answer for. So this is my own slightly shortened version of this tag. And I should preface this by saying that I haven't been doing a whole lot of reading this year. I have read 14 books, so I don't have a big pool of books to draw on, but I still want to kind of share some of these books with you. So prompt number 1 is the best book you've read so far in 2025. This is going to be a tie because one is a novel and one is a nonfiction book, and I couldn't really compare them in my head, and I gave both of them 5 stars, so I'm going to share both of these. So the nonfiction book is an essay collection called A Mind Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia Elliott. She was born in the US, moved to Canada as a girl to the Six Nations region in Ontario. And her father's Indigenous, her mother's white. There are essays dealing with her indigeneity, with abuse and neglect in her childhood, with mental health issues that her mother suffered from, with how indigeneity and Indigenous people in Canada and in the US are perceived by non-Indigenous people. There are a lot of different topics in the essay collection, but they're all connected in different ways. So it felt very cohesive. Writing was great. Gave me a lot to chew on. Just overall, very excellent essay collection. The other best book that I've read is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, horror novel about vampires in the South in the 1990s, or a vampire, and what some housewives are going to do about it. And I loved it. It was just, I was going to say fun. It's not fun. I think the title was a little misleading maybe, or it sounded like it was going to be a campier book than it ended up being. It is legitimately very scary. It's gross in parts, but all the stuff I wanted out of a horror book, and I had a great time reading it. Very tense. Yeah, no notes. I really, really enjoyed it. Number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far in 2025. I've read 4 sequels this year, I think, 3 of which are from the Murderbot Diaries series. And I'm going to choose one of those as my favorite sequel. It's Murderbot Diaries number 2, Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. Can't really say much about it because it's a sequel, but there's a lot of like playful and funny banter between Murderbot and this like pilot of this transport ship who's also like an artificial intelligence. And that just made it a lot of fun. So this was my favorite out of the Murderbot series so far by a long shot. Number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet, but want to. For this, I am definitely choosing Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I read The Hunger Games over the past several years. I just finished the series last year. Really, really enjoyed it. And this prequel follows Haymitch, who is my favorite character in the Hunger Games trilogy. I love Haymitch, and I never read A Story of Songbirds and Snakes. I think that's what the other prequel's called. I probably will now, just for continuity's sake, or completionist sake. But I wasn't necessarily interested in that story, whereas when I heard this book was about Haymitch, I lost my ever-loving mind. So my niece owns this book. I'm going to borrow it from her, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Everyone says it's really good. It's going to be great. Number 4 is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I'm actually not sure why I wrote this question down because I don't have an answer. I don't read a whole lot of new releases, and I can't think of anything that's coming out this year besides Sunrise on the Reaping, which is already out, that I just have to read. So I have no answer for that one. Number 5 is the biggest disappointment. Now, I will preface this by saying that I am having a really good reading year quality-wise, and this book that I'm listing, it wasn't my cup of tea, but it's not a bad book, and I didn't even really hate it. I struggled through it, but I didn't hate it, and I think it is a good book that is just definitely not for me. And I've already put it in a little free library, so I don't have it on hand, but that is The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. I don't really want to say much about it because I think there is a lot of really good stuff in this book, but the arm's length you're kept from the character is usually something that doesn't work for me. I need to be close to my characters. I need to really understand what they're feeling. And the mystery element of it I thought was kind of obvious, something that I think was supposed to be revealed at the end. Like, I thought, like, well, of course that's the answer. I figured that out halfway through the book. And yeah, but the writing was so good. Like, on a sentence by sentence level, I would read sections of this book and be like, oh my God, Margaret, like, slam dunk. Love the writing. I always love her writing, like, on a structural level. But plots with her, it's hit or miss for me. Again, not a bad book, but definitely the most disappointing. I said I wasn't going to talk about it at length, and I just talked about it for, I feel like, a little while. Number 6 is The Biggest Surprise. And I have 2 for this one as well because I can't follow the rules. The first one is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires because it just wasn't what I expected. I knew it was a horror book, but I thought, again, it'd be like more campy and fun, but it was straight up horror. I was surprised by how much it kind of got under my skin because I read horror books and, like, they make me feel tense, but this was the first time I had to kind of, like, I was listening to an audiobook and there was one scene that I had to repeatedly pause because it was making me that squeamish. Mind you, it did hone into a very specific and niche phobia of mine, and it was really gross. So that book surprised me. Another surprise, only because I hadn't heard anything about this book. I've never heard anyone talk about it. I was literally just scrolling through my Libby app because I had finished an audiobook and I wanted to start a new one. And everything on my wish list had like long holds. And I'm like, well, what's available right now? And I just started randomly scrolling through a couple different genres I was interested in. I clicked available now, and I wanted something kind of short. This was like 3 or 4 hours. This is a novella, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars, and that was And Then I Woke Up by Malcolm Devlin. I'm going to do a whole separate video on this. Probably not a big deep dive because you'll give a lot away in such a short book, but I'm going to start doing some like quick recommendations videos, just short, like 3-4 minute videos with books that I would recommend and why, or what they're about, or who I think might like them, kind of thing. So I'll make a video on that one, but it's kind of like a apocalypse dystopia kind of book, sci-fi speculative kind of umbrella genre. And yeah, it surprised me because it was basically just a placeholder because I wanted something to listen to, and I didn't realize I was going to enjoy it so much. Number 7 is a favorite new author. And for this, I'm going to choose Joanna Quinn. I know I did a whole review on her book, The Whalebone Theater, which I read earlier this year, explaining kind of what I liked about it and also what I didn't, because it didn't quite work for me. That being said, I gave it 4 stars. I think it's a very good book. The story just went in a direction that I wasn't interested in, and so that was kind of a letdown. But her writing was great, especially considering I'm pretty sure this is a debut novel. So I will definitely check out things that she writes in the future because her writing was very good. And the first section of the book I really loved, so I think I just have to find like the right story that she writes. That one just wasn't 100% for me, but the first section was definitely for me. So I am very keen to read her again. Number 8 is a book that made you cry. This one I actually own. It's The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise by Gemeinhart. Not sure how to pronounce that name. Middle grade, about a 12-year-old girl and her father. It's 5 years after her 2 sisters and mother were killed in a car crash. She and her father travel around the United States in a converted school bus, basically trying to forget the past and kind of move on with their life. But then she's called back home to try to save a memory box that she and her sisters and mother had buried just before their deaths. And it is so heartwarming and heartbreaking, and I cried through various parts of this book because middle grades have a way of making me cry like no other book does. Number 9 is a book that made you happy. I also have this one. It's based on a true story, not a memoir, by MacDonald. This just has his humor over every single sentence. I was reading it with his voice in my head. He is my favorite comedian of all time, and it was just so much fun to read this very absurd, very kind of surreal, fake memoir. And it just made me so happy reading jokes by him that I hadn't heard before because, when he passed away, it was so like sudden and unexpected. No one knew he was sick. And it was so sad that, I'm never going to hear another joke. I've already heard all his jokes. And so it was really nice to read a book and kind of read some other jokes of his that I hadn't heard or read before. So that made me very happy. Finally, number 10 is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have a list. So I would like to read 8 more books from my shelves because if I read 8 more books from my shelves, I will reach my TBR reduction goal, which will be great. And I want to read, it's way up there and I'm not going to get it. So I'll insert a picture, but Katie Lumsden's book, The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hurst, I had started reading that in like December, I think. And I got a couple chapters in and I was like, this is not a winter book. This is a summer book. So I set it aside and I told myself, I'm going to pick it up in the summer. It is now the summer. So at some point, probably in August, because I'll be busy with Jane Austen in July. But sometime in August, I hope to pick up that book. So I'd like to read that because I have owned it for a while now. And I'd also like to finish 3 more series. So one of my goals, I'll make a whole separate goals video actually, updating you on my progress. But one of my goals was to finish series where I only had 1 more book left. And I've done that with the Mad Adam trilogy. I have finished that. But there are 3 other series that I still have to finish that I only have 1 book left. So one of them, I think I have it here, is the Farseer trilogy. So I still have left to read Assassin's Quest. So I would like to read that by the end of the year. I will probably save this one for the fall. I start getting in the mood for fantasy in the fall and winter. Also 2 middle grade series that I want to finish. One is the City of Ember series. So I still have left to read The Diamond of Darkhold. And then Tristan Strong Keeps Punching is the last in the Tristan Strong series. So that's the mid-year book freakout tag, or at least my version of it. If you'd like to answer these questions, please do so below. Or if you've done this tag, please let me know. I'd like to check it out. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll chat soon. Take care. Bye.